Joining me now, Kevin Chavis, a Democratic strategist and managing partner at the Chavis Group. He's also the former president of the D.C. Young Democrats. And here in studio, Vecchio, a Republican strategist and attorney, both attorneys, by the way. All right, Kevin, let's start with you, because as we heard from Michael, after September 11th, the Authorization for Use of Military Force Act was passed. And for the past 18 years, presidents from both parties have been using it as justification for wars all over the Middle East. Now, to be clear, under the Constitution, war powers are granted to Congress. Do you see the Trump administration using it if they do decide to launch some kind of military attack on Iran? And would they be allowed to, based on this act? Would it cover them legally?
Well, Michelle, presidents have sort of historically, since the passage of the War Powers Act in 1973, found ways to get around it, even without approval from Congress, even without Congress declaring war. I mean, Article 1 says that Congress has to declare war and they have the authority to raise and fund armies and navies. But, of course, Article 2 makes the president the commander in chief. And it's that language that has been interpreted to allow presidents, at least in domestic affairs, to sort of divvy up troops and apply them as necessary. When it comes to international disputes, obviously they should be going to Congress. And I think that Donald Trump should do that here if he wants to, pursue military action in Iran. But I also want to say that it would be very early and very premature. I think the first thing he's got to do is get public opinion on his side. Most people do not want to see military action taken in Iran. That's on both sides of the aisle. So I think he's got a long way to go before he can really justify a serious military action, regardless of whether or not he goes through Congress, which he should do.
Well, to be fair, the Trump administration has not said that they're going to do that. Pompeo does say that they do have the authorization to defend American interests. And you could argue that going to Congress is kind of like advertising to the Iranians, watch out, we're about to hit you. So it may not be the best move strategically. Do you think the Trump administration does need some kind of clearance, though, legally speaking?
I don't think we're at a point in any way, shape, or form to start attacking Donald Trump over the possibility that he would utilize something like the War Powers Act or the more recent act that you referenced, because every president has basically since World War II. I do think it's a dangerous proposition for us to ever go into war without getting the authorization of Congress. And again, since World War II, that's what's happened every single time in Korea, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, and Iraq. Clearly, your point is very well taken, that sometimes you have to strike. It's not a war. Sometimes you have to commit a military act without warning the other party. So that's another dangerous proposition. To just automatically go to Congress every single time you're going to use a military action as a president, right. That's not sound judgment. His
military strategy, in a way, I imagine, and certainly the element of surprise. But I want to get your thoughts on another topic. The Supreme Court ruling today about the use of religious symbols in American life. The court said that a World War I memorial in the shape of a 40-foot tall cross can continue to stand on public land in Maryland. The justices ruling 7-2 in favor of the cross's backers, saying that preserving a long-standing religious monument is very different from allowing the building of a new one. That memorial has been there for over 100 years. They said it did not violate the First Amendment's clause, which prohibits the government from favoring one religion over the others. Kevin, with you, let's start. Do you support this decision?
I think in this case, it probably is the right decision. I mean, the cross has been standing for over a century with no issues. And for World War I, the symbol of the cross was sort of used among Americans in widespread manner to delineate the corpses of dead soldiers. So the meaning of the cross in this case, and this is what Justice Alito alluded to in his majority opinion, it wasn't designed to be placed there with discriminatory intent or to elevate the cross as a sectarian symbol of Christianity. It became a secular symbol of sort of World War I and honoring sacrifices in that case. It's interesting because actually Muslim organizations signed on in support of this bill, and it said that it's not about really wiping out any religious symbol from any public space, but it's about encouraging the sort of acceptance of religion. Now,
Ken,
it would be
do you
interesting
agree
if
with
that
the
was a
ruling?
star and crescent, what they would do.
I completely agree with the ruling, and I like to go one step further. I think that we've descended into complete lunacy over the past 30, 40, 50 years with the Establishment Clause wrongful interpretation by prior Supreme Courts. The Establishment Clause is to provide that the United States government cannot establish a religion. It doesn't mean that things that are put up on government property are automatically illegal because they might seem to be more indicative of one religion over another. I mean, let's calm down here. If you want to put up a Christmas display in the middle of a town on government property, leave it alone if that's what the people in the community want. And if you want to put up a display that's for Hanukkah, leave it alone and let people do what they want with it.
Makes sense to me. Kendall, Vecchio, Kevin Chavis, appreciate it. Thank you to you both.